Okay, this next video, we're going to add a new technique, and this is a movement technique that really is quite different than what we've been doing so far. And this technique is simply called shaking. Maybe you've heard of this technique or seen it before. Typically, if you can look at a fighter before they get in a ring, they're doing something like this, or boxers. They're bouncy and springy and ready, but they're very relaxed. Shoulders are loose. They're ready to coil if they need to, but everything's loose and bouncy. Okay, this is the kind of sensation and kind of movement, kind of position that we want to put ourselves in, is a very relaxed, soft, shaky, bouncy position. But there's still some awareness and stability and orientation of the spine and the core, that posture of the spine. So as you practice this technique, you can get more and more loose with it, and it can become more of a dance. It depends on your intent too. If you're trying to have a little bit of fun, you're just dancing around and staying loose. If you want to change your emotional state, you're sitting at a desk for 8 hours inside with blue light, you need some natural light, go outside and just jump up and down for 5 minutes. I know it sounds crazy, but you know what's crazy? People buy miniature trampolines to bounce on because they sit down for 8 hours a day inside a blue lit concrete building. That's crazy. That's not how the human was evolved. So we come outside and we bounce around. It's playful and it's fun and it's enjoyable, but we are getting all these other physical benefits too, which a couple I'll touch on. Number one, we're down regulating the nervous system, especially if we're getting sunlight and dirt on the skin. Okay. Number two, we are up-regulating all of these circulatory processes in the body by shaking the water. We're literally taking the body, when you put some protein powder in a thing, you shake it. Why? Because you're getting everything to mix together. You're shaking it up. You're mixing things. You're moving things, okay? That's the idea here, is we want to shake up the liquids in the body. The meritable piece of evidence that exists in peer-reviewed clinical research to merit buying one is the fact that it causes a kind of G-force accelerative and elastic bounce back in the body, which really shakes things up. One of the things being shook up is the lymphatic system. So your lymphatic system is like the plumbing system in your body. It's excreting waste and circulating fluids and out with the old and in with the new. If the lymphatic system does not work optimally, you will have impaired immune function, higher risk of cardiovascular disease. You've got gunked up pipes, right? It's that same idea. And so if you've got, like, imagine you've got a dirty jar. This is a great example. You've got a dirty jar and it's got some stuff caked on. This is your arteries, okay? This is your vasculature. And say there's like some old stuff caked on there. And you want to wash a jar, what do? You put water in it and you shake it really good, and that usually helps. If not, then you need to get in there with an actual brush and scrub it out, which would be something like dry brushing, where you're actually physically scrubbing, okay? The shaking of the water is the idea of shaking the fluid, the extracellular fluid, the lymphatic fluid, and the water in our body. It's scrubbing and cleaning some of those gunky spots on the insides of the arteries. That's a really good piece of evidence to why you should do this, even 5 to 10 minutes a day. Nobody wants stinky sewage, right? Like, if you're in the city and the sewage isn't clean and everything stinks, it's no good. And we know too, look at the old days when they didn't have plumbing, disease was a lot higher because there wasn't clean water. And so this is the ability for us to flush out the old and keep good clean water running through the pipes so our city doesn't get gross and stinky and sick. So that alone, just bouncing up and down, creating this reflexive, elastic, bouncing sensation is incredible for your health physiologically, just on the layer of the lymphatic system alone, let alone the downregulation of the nervous system and the bit of stretching and lengthening and contracting the muscles that you get, again, to help bring down muscular tone so you're not so tight and strung up in the muscles. You're more relaxed, okay? Like that fighter getting into the ring, you can't be all tense. You're gonna fight, you're gonna be all afraid, and you're gonna lose. You gotta be loose and ready. You're still ready, but you're loose. It's all good. You're in this nice loose state so your body works most optimally. Okay, so shaking is a fantastic practice in that way to keep the body loose and move the fluid through the body. But I also love it for its own mental emotional therapy, to shake and move emotions through the body. And this is a really powerful practice. Like you've probably heard of screaming in a pillow, or working out is another great way to change your state and move energy. Go for a walk if you're feeling tense or frustrated. Shaking is another fantastic practice that you can do that you don't need to go anywhere. You can stand in place and do it. Okay, and you're getting to you can start to get the breath in there. You can get big sighs and exhales. You can really relax into this and release and move energy, release emotions, release tension, literally physical tension, but also mental tension, right? Anxiety and fears and whatever. You're relaxing and releasing, letting it go out of the body, moving that emotion, moving that energy. So it's a really powerful practice in that way. It's one of my absolute favorites. That's why I'm ranting about it now. But the orientation of your body is totally up to you. What position your body in is totally up to you. It's just the method of actually shaking your body. And just like you would shake a jar, there's a tempo, rhythm, right? Like if I do it, like if it's not an even tempo or not like back and forth, right, it doesn't shake right. But if I get a da, 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 da. Okay, I'm getting a really good tempo, a really good rhythm to that shake. I'm timing the accelerative jolt, that bounce just right to get the most elastic rebound, the most of shake of that water in the system. And you can really gear it up, soft little ones, the little scrubbing bubbles, okay, where you're more like, okay, versus the, okay, it's totally up to you, like what feels good in different areas. Like big ones feel really good in the shoulders and the legs, but if we're getting up into the head and neck, it's a little more sensitive. You don't want to freaking jar your neck. So you're doing little tiny subtle ones and kind of playing around like, ooh, that's kind of nasty. Okay, let's slow it down. Let's decrease the intensity a little bit. And let's, oh, there we go. Oh, getting some good release. Okay, so it's just like stretching and moving around into areas of limitation, but you can add that bounce. The bounce is going to give you a little bit more release in certain areas, a little bit more of a visceral effect. So be mindful of the intensity of the bounce depending on the area that you're doing it, and play around with that a little bit. But the body position is totally up to you. I'll show you how to do it first in Zhang Zong, the safest, most standard base posture, and then you can fuck with it from there. You can put your body in any position you want. But starting out, we just get into our regular Zhang Zong posture. Nothing new, everyth's the same. Lateral borders of the feet parallel, toes slightly turned in, hip width are a little wider. We tuck and drop the pelvis, we bend the knees. We come down into this position here. And then we're just chilling. Okay, we start to add a little shake. You can start the shake from the lower dantian. Okay, don't worry about the breath, just hang out, relax, and just start with baby shakes. And you'll get that timing down where it's ja, 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 ja. And you can go faster, slower, harder, or softer to change the effect. Okay, I can do slower, bigger jolts, I'm feeling it more in my shoulders now, versus the little tiny one. I'm feeling more like around my balls and my pelvic floor and my low back, feeling it more down here versus up here. Okay, so it just depends on what feels good. What you want to be mindful of is not twerking. I don't want you to get like super booty pop back here, just mainly because I don't want you to be jarring a bunch of force when you're in a bunch of lumbar extension and potentially just creating a little bit of the kink in the garden hose, pinching that sciatic area. You don't want to do that. So make sure that you're first in Zhang Zong and you've got a nice straight vertical spine. Tuck the chin so you're packing the neck, protecting your neck a little bit, so you don't, same thing, you don't want to kink your low back and you don't want to shake and crink your neck. That wouldn't feel good either. So orient yourself into that vertical, organized, stable spinal column, and then just play around with the shake, whatever feels good. Okay, some variations of the shake that you can play with is starting here, and then you can start to move the arms and it totally changes the sensation. So we can go straight out and you get a good bounce going out to the sides, and you'll notice my wrists are like naturally doing wrist circles. I'm not even trying to do that. They're just kind of flopping around, making circles, and it feels really good opening in the wrist joint. So if you're on the computer or phone a lot, texting, or you work with your hands like you're a hair stylist or a surgeon where you're like doing really precise stuff, small overuse patterns with the hands, relaxing the wrists, the hands, and the fingers will let a lot of that tension go so you can get some of that out of there. Okay, this position really helps with that. You can come in front. Now I'm feeling it differently. I'm actually feeling it more in my belly when I'm out here. I like to bend my arms here, and now you can even see my belly. I'm like relaxing my belly out. It's really shaking. And it's just like, I think of this as like mouthwash. You're just swishing the mouthwash around. You can feel you're noodling around that tension line just like you are when you're doing any kind of movement practice. You're like, oh, that's tight. Okay, let's noodle around in there. Doing the same idea, but with the shake involved at the same time. Like, oh, there we go. I really like rounding my spine and bending forward and or down to the ground to shake. I know this looks a lot like a booty pop, like I'm twerking. You get a really good release in the upper hamstring and in the groin, a little bit in the glute and the low back. And cross the arms here, tuck the chin. And take arms up overhead. Now I'm getting a nice stretch through my lat, through my psoas, down through the front of my hip, my diaphragm. Get a little side bend, get a little bit more of a side body lat. And I'm also feeling a good release in the pelvic floor between my thigh bones, right in that gooch area. If you relax all the way, you can really drop. And that dropping sensation helps to relax and open up the anus, the pelvic floor, the gonads. Like it really feels like my balls even are relaxing here. So I'm getting a really nice release and opening in that bottom pelvic floor by letting go and relaxing there. Really good shake in the belly with the arms up overhead or the arms out in front. So you're just playing with the arm position. Just play around with the arm position, with the spine position. Okay, bend forward, try that out, and you're just playing around. I like to bounce on one leg. And then at a point, once you've got it down, it doesn't have to be perfect Zhang Zong posture, heels on the ground. You can start to play around with it a little bit. Lean back, lift your chin, see if you can get some release in your neck. Again, be mindful, all things considered from the earlier cues of staying packed and organized. If you have any sensitivity, restriction, or pain, and then as you go, okay, that feels better, that's okay, low intensity, turn it up from a level 2 to level 3, a little harder shake, okay, that's like a little much there on my neck, okay, neutralize it back out, oh, good release. Okay, so you're brushing your teeth, you're using mouthwash, you're scrubbing bubbles, you're getting in there and scrubbing and cleaning everything out. Okay, that's the major intent here with shaking, is you're scrubbing the tissues and shaking all the fluid in the body around to help clean the system. But also, you're cleaning the emotions in the mind. You're releasing and relaxing the tension and moving the energy through your body, through your soma. The body keeps the score, right? That's enough known now that the trauma and experiences we have in life that memory is stored cellularly in our cellular matrix. It's stored in our soma, in our body. So just moving and just flopping around is a good enough starting point, especially if you're barefoot outside on the grass with the sun on your body. But as you start to improve the technique and try different positions and change the speed or intensity of the shake, you can notice you get different sensations and you can create a bit of a different result from your shaking. But shaking is phenomenal. I recommend doing it at any point during the day, but a good bench point to shoot for is just 5 minutes of continuous shaking in different body positions, and start there.